Hello dear students, in this video I'll be covering the provisions of Income Tax Act 1961 regarding the provisions of rent-free accommodation. Okay, so let's get a quick revision about the basics of the topic. As we all know that there are five heads of income as per Income Tax Act, that is income under head salaries, under house property, PGBP, capital gains and income from other sources. The topic to be covered in this video comes under the head salaries. सो इनकम अंडर हेड सैलरीज में आता क्या क्या है? बेसिक सैलरी, अलाउंसेस, पर्क्स और कोई भी बेनिफिट जो एम्प्लॉय अपने एम्प्लॉयर से लेता है ड्यूरिंग द सर्विस पीरियड, और एनी काइंड ऑफ पेंशन, ग्रेचुटी, लीव इनकैशमेंट, ये सारी चीज़ें जब हम प्लस करते हैं तो हमारे पास उस एम्प्लॉय की इनकम आती है अंडर हेड सैलरीज. Rent-free accommodation comes under the concept of various perks offered by the employer to the employees, and various perks are basically the benefits provided by the employer to the employee when he or she does not provide a monthly payment in the form of allowances for the same purpose. Now, rent-free accommodation can be defined as a mobile house, any apartment or hotel accommodation provided by the employer to his or her employee to stay during the service period.
So these are the points which I'll be covering in this video.
Number one, meaning of accommodation. As I said earlier, that accommodation can be any house, flat, mobile house, or hotel accommodation. This accommodation can be furnished or unfurnished. Next is nature of employment. Taxability of RFA highly depends on the nature of employment, which means provisions are different for government employees and private employees. Third point, places where RFA is provided. Under this point, we'll check the population of the area where accommodation has been provided, and provisions will vary if population is less than 10 lakhs, up to 25 lakhs, or above 25 lakhs in the area where accommodation has been provided. Next up is exemption of RFA. So RFA is completely exempted or tax free if it has been provided in the remote areas, offshore areas, and it is also exempted if it has been provided to the judges of Supreme Court and High Court. Next two points are of more than one accommodation and hotel accommodation. So as the name suggests, if an employee is using more than one accommodation or hotel accommodation provided by the employer, then there are different provisions for both cases. Rent-free accommodation may be employer's own accommodation, or it could be hired by him. That is, he is also paying rent for the same accommodation. Then in both the cases, provisions will be different. And lastly, we'll discuss about the provisions of concessional accommodations. That means employee is paying rent to the employer for the accommodation where he has been residing.
Now we'll start with the rules regarding rent-free accommodation. Number one, unfurnished accommodation. Provisions for the government employees. In case of government employees, only license fee fixed by the government for such place will be charged from the employees. For other non-government employees, the accommodation is divided into two parts, that is owned by the employer and hired by the employer. If population is less than equal to 10 lakhs, the taxable value of RFA will be 7.5% of the salary. If population is more than 10 lakhs but less than equal to 25 lakhs, then 10% of the salary is taxable. And if population is more than 25 lakhs, then 15% of the salary is taxable. If accommodation is hired by the employer, that means he is paying rent for the same accommodation, then the provision is either 15% of the salary or actual rent paid by the employer, whichever is less, that is taxable. Here, students, I am using the terms like 10% of salary, 15% of salary. Now, what is included in salary for this purpose? So, salary will include basic salary, DA which enters for service benefits, commission, bonus, or any other non monetary payment received from the employer. Now comes the value of furnished accommodation. So, all the provisions which are mentioned till now will be applicable in the same manner, and after that, we just have to add 10% of the cost of furnishing incurred by the employer. Now, let's solve certain examples. In this question, the details of salary and other benefits is given, and it is mentioned that employee is a government employee. So for government employee, value of RFA will be the license fee fixed by the government, which is 2500 per month in this question. So that's why value of RFA will be 2500 into 12, that is rupees 30,000. Because it is a furnished accommodation, so 10% of cost of furnishing is to be added, which will be 10% of 1,20,000, that is 12,000. So value of RFA in this particular question will be 30,000 plus 12,000, 42,000 rupees. Now, in this statement, the employee is a private employee and accommodation is owned by the employer. So, we'll check the population of the area where accommodation has been provided. As the population is above 25 lakhs, so value of RFA will be 15% of salary, and salary to be taken will include basic salary, DA, bonus and commission. So value of RFA in this question is 15% of 6,30,000, that is 94,500. If in the same statement I say that accommodation is hired by the employer, so the provision is either 15% of salary or rent paid by the employer. So 15% of salary is 94,500 and rent paid by the employer is 4,000 per month, that is 48,000 rupees. Whichever is less, that is taxable. So in this particular question, value of RFA will be 48,000. During service period, an employee may be transferred from one place to the other. So if he occupies more than one accommodation, then for first 3 months house having lesser value will be taxable, and if he continues to occupy both such accommodations for more than 3 months, then value of both the houses will be taxable. Next up is hotel accommodation, which is exempted if such accommodation has been used for up to 15 days. That means no value is to be added. Now, if such accommodation is used for more than 15 days, then taxability will be as per the provisions, which is either 24% of salary for number of days exceeding 15 days, or actual rent of the hotel, whichever is less shall be taxable. In this question's first part, stay is for 14 days. So value of hotel accommodation will be nil as it is exempted for first 15 days. In the next part, stay is of 38 days. That means first 15 days are exempted, and we'll calculate the value of 13 minus 15, 23 days. 24% of salary comes to be 4791, and actual bill paid by the employer is 30,950. Whichever is less, that is taxable. That means 4791 is the taxable value of hotel accommodation in part B. Last topic of this concept is concessional accommodation. If employee is paying a certain amount in the form of rent to the employer for such accommodation, then that brings the concept of concessional accommodation. Now, let's just take one of the examples before mentioned. Here in this question, the value of RFA was 48,000. But what if employee is also paying certain rent? In this statement, employee is paying 2,000 per month rent, that is 24,000. So it will be deducted from the value of RFA calculated before, that is 48,000. So taxable value becomes 48,000 minus 24,000, that is rent paid by the employee. So value of such accommodation becomes 24,000, that is 48,000 minus 24,000 is equal to 24,000. So it was all about the provisions of rent free accommodation. Hope this was valuable to you. Thank you.